Little Bit of Crafting. I am coming to you not from my studio. So I am out of town tomorrow I will be at a demonstrator event. So rather than just skip out tonight, I thought I would share. Let me get my other device up here. I agreed to do a little demonstration of embossing folders. So I apologize for the moving camera because I'm holding it. I don't have my stand. So you've seen me use this sunflower embossing folder. This is new, and it's really one of my favorite embossing folders that Stampin' Up! Has offered over the years. So I thought I would show you a few of the things that I am going to show some other demonstrators tomorrow. And one of them is what I'll call a dipped technique. So these are the new letters, I don't remember what they're called, that Stampin' Up! Recently released. And what I did was I had my piece of cardstock. You could use basically color, might work better. I just have to. And I put Versum over the whole piece. And then I put two different colors of powder. You can see here that I've got the gold and I've got the white. And what I did then is just heat embossed both of those together. And you want to be careful so that you don't mix your colors too much when you're getting rid of the extra powder. But then I heated it up and then I ran it through another embossing folder. So this is the, I don't know if it's swirly circles or something. It's something circles. I ran it through that embossing folder after I die cut it. All right. So this was just a sample of what the plain old letters would look like. Embossed, cut out, ran through a dry embossing folder. So I did heat embossing and dry embossing. And I just thought it was kind of fun. So this is kind of like dipped. You could do it with different colors, and obviously it would look a little bit different with your different colors. So that's one of them. All right, let's set that aside. And then you kind of saw me do this one in a previous project, but I'm still going to show it tomorrow. So here I just used Blackberry Bliss, and I put the ink on the top or the front of the embossing folder, ran it through, and then used my blending brushes to add some different color. And I used multiple colors here. So I had like Daffodil Delight and Calypso Coral and probably Pumpkin Pie or Cajun Craze to add those colors. But where the embossing folder makes those recessed patterns is where the ink will be left behind. All right. Alrighty. And then I did one where I added ink to the back of the embossing folder. All right, so the front of the embossing folder is the one that has the Stampin' Up! Logo. The back of the embossing folder typically doesn't have any identification on it. So I put ink on the back of the embossing folder, ran it through. Here's what it would look like if I inked the front, which is very pretty, but that's pretty much this without any extra color. All right, so you can kind of see where that is. All right, so here when I inked up the back, you can see that the ink is laid in different parts of that image. Here then I swiped with just a Memento ink pad, and here I swiped with a couple of different colors. I think I used crushed curry and maybe pumpkin pie or something. I don't remember. All right, so that'll give you a totally different look, right? So from this to that is just very different. Okay, and I'm trying to keep my note cards on here because I've got kind of my little table tent things. So this is the same technique basically, but I use the gold metallic. And this is gorgeous without any extra color, but then when I added either blending brushes or by swiping my Memento ink over there, it gives it a totally different look. That's another one that I will show them tomorrow. And then here is one where I inked up the front of the embossing folder, and then I took my water spritzer. Hello, Tina Adams. Thanks for joining me. Let me know where you're from. I always like to know where people are from when they're joining me. I am highlighting some embossing folders that I will be sharing with some other demonstrators tomorrow at an event. So this one, as I was saying, I inked up the top of the embossing folder, and then I used my water spritzer. Then I carefully laid my paper on that, closed it up so that it didn't drip, but ran it through my embossing folder then, and you get a very different, kind of a distressed look. So thank you for joining me from Canada. And what time zone are you in? It's like coming up to 11:30 p.m. I think. I'm in Central Time in the United States. So, all right, here is another one then that I ran through the plaid embossing folder, and then I used the brayer. We've got that silicone brayer. You can see where I put a little note on there, and it just lightly picks up some color, or lays down some color rather. 10:30. So you're an hour. You're what would be our mountain time in the U.S. Cool. Well, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. So this, I use that silicone brayer, and you can kind of see where I actually had embossed with that sunflower embossing folder first. Then I ran it through with the plaid. I'm in Wisconsin, Tina. So this one, when I ran it through the sunflower, you can see it when I tilt it. When you look on it straight on, it's not as obvious. But when you put the brayer on there, it's kind of pretty. So I think if I tried it with some different folders, I might get a different look. Or if I had an embossing folder that didn't have an entire design on it. Some of the floral ones that we've had, the fern one where it had some empty space. All right. And then you can see this is the front of an embossing, but I was looking at the back. So I just embossed it, and I used my blends, my Stampin' Blends. You could use a marker, you could probably use colored pencils. But what I did then is after I colored those in, and you don't have to even be real careful about being neat, but then I just took my Memento Black and inked over that, kind of like I did on the metallic one. So it just highlights it and gives it, some people I think call it like black ice. There might be another term for it, I don't know. But I thought that was kind of pretty. And then here is an interesting set. I embossed first with this circle embossing folder. And then I went through a second time with the sunflower because I wanted the sunflower to be more prominent. So you can see where the circle almost makes it look like rain on there. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I would probably just use this as a white on white card and then add some pop color with ribbon or the sentiment. Okay. And then I'm coming down to the last few here. This is another one where I ran the embossing folder through twice. So I did the sunflower first. I used my blending brush to add a little bit of the color on there. And I think I used crushed curry for that. And then I ran it through just partially, so just on half of that face, that front layer, with that circle embossing folder. And I thought it gave a really nice technique because even though some of the sunflower texture gets flattened on that half where I ran it through a second time, since I added the color, you can actually still see the image. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I'll just, add a sentiment to kind of go with whatever occasion I'm working on. And then the last one that I'm going to be showing is using our two-tone cardstock. And right now there is a sale, 20% off the two-tone cardstock. So it's just one more day because I think that ends tomorrow. But here's with the garden green. So it's two-sided, so one side's lighter, one side's darker. And I ran it through the embossing folder, and then I just took, I don't have a sanding block, I should get one or find one. I thought I had one, but I just used some light grit sandpaper. Yes, using two embossing folders does really give it a cool effect. So you just have to kind of look for patterns that'll work together. But then with this one, with the two-tone cardstock, once I ran it through, I just took my sandpaper to lightly reveal that white core, and I think it gives it a really cool effect. So I did that on both the light and the dark sides. So that is what I will be sharing with our demonstrators tomorrow at our event. And I'd be interested in seeing, what anybody here wants to see more of. I've shared some of these techniques recently, but if there's one in particular that you think would be really fun for me to do a card with, add a comment. And until next time, I'm just going to say happy crafting. This is a short video tonight because I don't have all of my other crafting supplies. So thank you for stopping in, Tina. It was nice chatting with you a little bit. I usually come on between 11 p.m. and midnight Wisconsin time. So right now it's 11:39 here on Thursday, July 10th. And until next time, happy crafting.